go for hours.
So now we come to the BVs and the harmonies, and on a song like this, these are the things that really create the sound and the feel of the song and add so much more kind of space and bigness to the mix. So as you'll see, I've got 2 of each here, which is always a good way to work, having 2 takes of all of these. So I've got a mid harmony, a high harmony, and a low harmony. And as you see, I've panned these left and right. So the mid harmonies are somewhat wide, the high harmonies are a little bit wider, and then the low harmonies are super wide. And that's generally how I like to do it. There's no set rule, but that's how I just felt it sounded good on this song. And I wanted these to be really big and kind of wrap around the vocal and give the track much more space and depth and width. And that's why I've used so much panning on these vocals. Now on the individual tracks, it's very much the same processing that I just showed you on the lead vocal. So if you didn't watch that section, please do go and watch how I treated the lead vocal on this song, because the processing that I did on the channels there will be very similar to the channels down here, but I'll quickly just show you what I did. So first of all, I'm using the auto-tune equivalent, which is Waves Tune real time. And I have made this slightly faster, so these have more of the robotic auto-tune sound than the lead vocal did, but still not completely robotic. It's down at 20 speed here. De-essing, basic. Little bit of EQ just to remove the rumble and the real low end there. First little bit of compression with the R-Vox, and then more compression with the R compressor. So I'll quickly just play you this first mid harmony here just to show you what all of these plugins are doing.
You came from heaven, streams and me. We can go for hours. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So really nice sounding, some basic processing going on the channel there. Let me play 2 of these together so you're getting both sides. I'll show you what I did over here on the bus, on the kind of stack for these harmonies. So first, similar to the lead vocal, got another compressor here, which is the CLA 76. Just kissing it really, not doing a whole lot. I've removed some of the low mids here with this SSL EQ. Boosted some highs, boosted some mids as well, so these are quite present. And I'm using the Abbey Road saturator as I was on the lead vocal, but I'm using a little bit more here. So this is at 13%. I think the lead vocal was down at 9 or 10. So as you hear, that's just adding a nice air to the vocal. And then we're using sibilance at the end here. Probably not a whole lot of S's on these, but this is just to tame the S's and the sibilance that's on the track. That's on the harmony. Sorry.
You came from heaven, streams and
yeah, as I say, there's not many S's on this, but that's just there just to catch them if they do pop up. So that's kind of showing you the basic processing that I'm using on these. I'm going to play you them all together now so you can hear how they're sounding throughout the song at different parts. And then we'll dive into the reverbs and delays that I put on these.
You came from heaven, streams and me. Until the stars no longer shine, there is a world for you and I, forever yours. Will you be mine?
And now with the song.
Can it be you came from heaven, streams and you were sent for me? All this power, we can go for hours.
So areas like that, it's just adding so much, you know, without it.
Power, we can go for hours.
And with it.
Power, we can go for hours. It's hard to believe.
So these just really make the song. And as you can see, as I said, just a lot of panning here just to create that space and width. Let me play another part down here. Yeah, so very nice. And let's be honest, most of this is about the performance. Most of this is about the recordings and the choice of harmonies that the artist decided to do. You know, the mix engineer can really not take credit for a lot of this stuff. This is more like the vocal producing stage where you're choosing which harmonies to do and where to put them as well. All I can do is just make them sit nicely in the mix, level them nicely. You'll see here I've used plenty of automation throughout. Some parts, they start off quiet and get louder. Some parts are louder than others. It's important to add this automation to create some dynamics in the mix and bring these up in certain areas where you want them to sit higher and really wrap around the lead vocal. In terms of reverbs and delays, it's very similar to what I showed you on the lead vocal. We're using the slap delay, the main delay, but the big difference here is I've sent much more to the main reverb. So the big reverb that we added for the song, there's just a lot more of this sent. If you look here on the lead vocal at bus 13, we're down at -10. Whereas down here, we're all the way up here at -2. So there's a lot more being sent to the reverb from these, which just helps them to just really swell and create more space and more width and more sheen on them as well. So if I bypass all the delays and reverbs that we added on this, you'll see how these just don't sound anywhere near as nice.
You won't do it my way. You won't do it my way. Turn me on tonight. Oh, tell me how can I repay? I still shiver when you come through.
This is all about the performance. There's not a whole lot to show you in terms of what I did on these. Pretty basic processing, but just making sure that they sit in a nice space. Have them panned left and right. Like I say, I like to have sort of the mid harmonies panned more central, but still a little bit wide, and then the highs quite wide and the lows super wide. That's how I chose to do it for this song, and I think it works really well. And it's just about adding enough reverb and space to these to make them really sit nicely. And then add in the automation to just bring them up in the areas where you want them to kind of add the crescendo sound, and turning them down where you want them to be more subtle. And that's all I really did there on these backgrounds and BVs. The other thing we have here is these vocal fills. So these two channels here. And I'll show you what kind of part they're playing in the song, and then we'll look at how we treated them slightly differently.
You got me falling.
Now again, processing on the main channels themselves, exactly the same as the BVs that I just showed you. So we're not going to go through that. Basic compression, got the waves tune at 40 here. So somewhere in between what we did with the lead and the BVs. Not too robotic. Same stuff here, compression, EQ. As you can see, I've reduced some of the high end on this. I wanted these to sit slightly differently, not be so present. So we used slightly less high end on these, less air on these. And then I also added this chroma tape emulation plugin with the speed down at 7.5. And what this does is just kind of adds tape saturation, but removes some of the high end. So it really helps things to sit back. So I like to use this sometimes instead of EQing, instead of turning down the high end of an EQ. I'll put this on a track or on a bus like this, put this to 7.5, and it just, in a nice way, it kind of makes them more gritty, breaks them up a little bit, but it takes away some of the high end. So let me play these in solo with and without this applied, and you'll see what I mean, hopefully.
Turn me on, turn me on, turn me on, turn me on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of adding a little bit of distortion, a little bit of saturation in a kind of lo-fi, grungy kind of way. But I just liked it. I just wanted these to sit slightly differently in a different kind of space and dimension to the lead and the harmonies. And I thought this was a nice way of doing it by adding this little bit of degradation almost to the quality of these. So let me play you now throughout the song how these sound. Hopefully you'll see why I chose to do that. These are almost like a separate thought, almost like it's being performed in a kind of different space to the rest of the vocals.
Turn me on tonight. Tell me how. Tell me how can I repay?
Yeah, I liked how that sounded, you know? And then, again, pretty much the same, going out to all the same effects. Nothing too different there.